So probably want to know what the hell I'm doing right now with these, you know, obscurely low or obscurely slow settings after my last video, and I can explain. So as you can tell, we're at 7,200 right now, but if you check the voltages, we are very low, very low. TX, VDIM, V32, so 1.35s, right? And now you're wondering, like, so why am I doing this? Pretty simple, a demonstration. So this is going to pass in a little bit. Hopefully it passes with no issues. I've had, you know, weirdness in the past with stress tests, but basically I'll show you guys some stuff in a little bit, because I have a screenshot passing with much higher voltages, and with DDR5, well, if you watch the channel, you know that I've mentioned before, DDR5 cannot be stabilized by jamming voltage into it. You cannot run some arbitrary list of settings by just compensating voltage. You can't do that in DDR5. You'll run into instability. Like, it just won't train properly. You'll have weirdness, data corruption. So with DDR5, your voltages are fine-tuned. You can't mess around. So I'll show you that I had a much higher voltage stable requirement, and there's a reason for this, and I'll explain in a short moment. So just wait for it to pass. Any second now it will be. And pretty much almost now. I'm wasting time with this video. It's 2 minutes long already. This is 4K, so it's going to be quite a big file. Damn it. I should have started the video much later. Almost there. Come on. Almost 3 minutes now. Done. Guys, just getting done testing. As you can see, we passed Y-Cruncher VST, the hardest test for the IMC settings, and then TM5 again. Voltages 1.55, same thing as the other video, but I had to make some adjustments to get this to pass Y-Cruncher. By the way, if you're wondering why equals was disabled right now, that's just because Y-Cruncher is really heavy, and I didn't want to, like, you know, degrade my chip running Y-Cruncher with more current. Just because, I mean, not that I would have, but it's like, if you're gonna run Y-Cruncher just for the IMC test, like, why bother running with all your cores? Because you're just gonna end up at like over 200 amps, which makes no sense. So yeah, that's why they're off, but whatever. But anyway, so this is almost done. I'll give it like a minute. It should pass pretty soon. Pretty weird it actually took so long, because usually it goes quite fast at this kind of speed. I'm wondering if it'll be like 105 or what it'll be. So I'll sit down. Okay. Yeah, this was really difficult to get done, guys. Like, believe me, like, this was really hard. Okay, so there we go, done. And yeah, stable. Wow, it has been a long time since I've actually recorded a video. I think the last video I recorded was like, must have been 2 weeks ago by this point. So anyway, topic of today's video, on die termination settings. Now, something I have never considered, like, setting myself on Intel. I have used a couple custom ODTs on Ryzen. I would usually set like clock drive strength to 20 ohms, usually different boards. It's worked for different friends of mine as well for certain configs I've done with their boards and stuff. And my friend has like a Unify X MSI X570S, and then I've had like a Yorus Master, and I've had other stuff. I've had a Unify non-X and whatever. A bunch of boards on Ryzen you would set like 20 ohm clock drive strength, and then maybe like, I don't know, 40 ohm, maybe 32 ohm proc ODT. So that's all that's in Ryzen. Intel, I've looked at the ODTs before and I've just been like, damn, complicated as hell. And they're very complicated. Now, how would you go about testing them? Honestly, setting by setting. It might sound crazy, but like, there are 5 ODT values for Raptor Lake on my motherboard, for each IMC. Because remember, I think it's per DIMM, but I'm pretty sure it's per IMC because there are 2 IMCs in Raptor Lake, and Alder Lake, so it should be per IMC, but it might be per DIMM, I don't know. I think it's IMC, because I think it says per IMC, whatever. You'll see in the video that I had when I showed the ODTs, I think it's per IMC, it's for each IMC, but anyway. So, yeah, like, now, I didn't have to adjust them for this first, 7200 pass, so I got this stable, and I'd actually been gaming on this for like 2 weeks. This was completely stable for like 2 weeks. I was using this daily. I got this done, 13 December. Yeah, I had this running, dude, since like forever, man. This is my like backup rock solid profile for daily, and I was at like 1.425 volts, which isn't like very high, but it's still like kind of underwhelming for this kind of speed, right? And these like timings. But a person I met on the EVGA forums I mentioned before, Mr. Fox, he provided some values to try, and I ended up using them for this 7200, and I saw some very interesting results. Now, as you guys know, as I mentioned earlier on the other clip, that DDR5, if you're even like 15 millivolts over, you're gonna error. Like, if you're gonna run Y Cruncher, you'll error. So, especially like VST is extremely sensitive. So, if you're not like pinpoint accurate, you're gonna error. So there's no way. So yeah, this is stable at 1.425. Now, the moment I do the ODT settings, I just go check to see if it'll run, and you will not believe what I found. Because I actually initially only did the ODTs because I thought it would help bring down TX and help training, because I noticed the ODTs help training on 7600 and 7400. So I was like, oh cool, it fixes MRC, so it helps my IMC train a bit better. So I'm happy. So I'm like, oh, if my IMC can train a little bit better, and I can be a little bit more like sure that my training upon cold boots will be perfect, so I don't have to worry about like reboot instability, I'm happy. So the goal with the ODTs the first time was just to get this down and to make sure this trains stable and properly with 1.3. And I end up finding that I have to bring my VDD and VDDQ down all the way to 1.35. Like, dude, the goal of the whole thing was to bring this down, and I ended up having to back this off. So these off. So I had to go 1.425. Tons of errors in TM5. Crazy, okay? Like immediate errors, like 15 errors within like seconds. Then I back off to 1.4, less errors. I'm like, that's pretty peculiar. 1.38, even less errors. And I'm like, there's no way. 1.35, and lo and behold, passes. So I was like, well, it passed this, but will the IMC be stable? Straight into Y Cruncher, all good. So no adjustments needed. So 7200 with those ODT settings and the timings I chose and everything, 100% fine. Like 4 on TRD, same group, or different group, sorry, that's different group, so S is different group, short. And 4 works fine, T416 works fine at this data rate. In fact, I think this data rate is probably where these ICs are optimal. In fact, I think that these ICs could have been binned to 7200 as an XMP. Depends on the board again. This is actually where, guys, when vendors say, hey, XMP might not work kind of thing, this is where, because think about this, right? If this was 1.4 volts, 7200, these kinds of timings, XMP, the G-Skill XMP, it won't work on every single system. Like, not every single system, like every single IMC will like to run Y Cruncher on that XMP at 1.4 volts, at like XMP voltage. You might have to bring down your voltage, or like change your timings or something, because unless the IMC likes the voltage, it's not going to run. That's where the on determinations are interesting, because the on determinations essentially like alter how the IMC trains. And you can kind of think of it like this. the ODTs are resistance values. So between 0 ohms and 100 and 240 ohms. So it goes 0 ohms, 34 ohms, 40 ohms, 48 ohms, 60, 120, 240. Now, yeah, like basically what I think happens is if you increase an ohm value, resistance value, you require more voltage at certain like points in the command chain of the DRAM command. So it can help in the sense that like if you reduce your ODTs, you can get some voltage allowance. So I'm guessing the stock values for my motherboard were quite high or something like that, because the moment I dialed them in, all of a sudden I required much less voltage. So what that tells me is it's likely that the ODTs before were too high. I've actually noticed that having the ODTs quite high is actually quite hard to stabilize. Now, someone that's a very good DRAM tuner named QXC used quite high values in the dock, and I think that might help stability, but it will require more voltage to actually like run, I think, if I'm not wrong, because as I said, the custom values brought down my voltage requirements and helped my IMC training quite a bit. So yeah, very interesting, guys. Like, ODTs can literally do work. Like, they can be the difference between not stable and stable. And the exact same thing happened again. So, I used the same ODT settings, these ones, for 7400. And I managed to get 7400, like, stable again. This time, Y-Crunch stable. So, I was able to get it Y-Crunch stable and then TM5 stable. So, this is rock solid. Required 1.5 volts. 34, 44, 44, quite nice and tight. Secondary is not too bad. You know, TWR and TRTP a bit loose, but that's okay. It needed TRDS, so different group 6, and then T424. Obviously, 6 times 4 is 24. And I required a little bit of bump on my WRDs to create 1224. So, yeah, this was not terribly hard to stabilize. I did have to raise. I had to raise. So first I had to raise T424 and obviously this is 6. And then I had to raise my TWR and TRTP. And those adjustments got this stable. 45s didn't help it. Changing, you know, anything else, well, nothing much more to change. But yeah, so luckily, releasing like a bit of strain from TWR and TRTP, and then the T4 adjustment and the same group adjustment on the RRD timing, that helped my IMC kind of, you know, get a bit more comfortable and run Y-Cruncher. Before that, it was erroring immediately. So, but this was stable quite quickly. I think I took maybe half an hour to get this dialed in. Now, this was the tough one, but I got it. So, as you recall, I had that video. That profile was not IMC stable. It was crashing in games after like 3 hours in COD. And yeah, it wasn't fully stable. So the moment I would run Y-Crunch on that profile, nah, no way. Had to raise RRDS or different group to 8 T432. And then I had to bring down, so funny enough, right? I had to bring down TWR and TRTP. If I run these as 16, this will not pass. This will error at 16. So, funny enough, if there's voltage allowance, especially when you're this, like, hairpin stable, you need to be, like, on the money. Otherwise, you'll actually error. And you could be erroring at, like, you know, people say, oh, don't adjust secondary timings, do your primaries and whatever, and then you'll get the data rate stable. Like, it's much easier than... No. If these were too loose, I would error immediately, right? So... when you're hairpin stable, you have to be very careful. You have to actually be like on the money. In fact, this required different ODT values compared to these two. So for this, I'm actually making a notepad for you guys. So for me personally, C690 dock, my this is okay. So and then this kit's name, we'll copy that address, see if it goes to text. Oh, goodness, man. Whatever. Fix it. Okay. So, So the ODTs go. Wait, let me head to EVJ forum real quick. Let me not do that. EVJ forum. Okay. We'll go to. So check. So I mentioned it here. No. I mentioned it over here. And I just thanked him. And then the values I gave to someone else over here. Now, if you have a different motherboard, whatever, I honestly can't say what you'll need because every IMC is different. But for me, these worked for 7200, and then for 7400 as well, these worked again. Now, I found that for 7600, I tested everything, guys. These, perfect. Like, no higher. I can't go higher. Not high or low. Doesn't work. Perfect. Doesn't go, like, it doesn't go high or low. I think, if I'm not wrong, the values I used was 34 here. Yeah, 34 here. I tried 40, 40, 40, 34. Didn't work. 48s were required. I tried 60. Didn't help. 48 again. So, tried 40, 60. No go. Same thing here. Tried 40, 60. No go. Tried 40. Tried 34. And that's all worse. So, all worse. And then for here, I tried 0, 40, and yeah, no. So 34 in the middle of these two, perfect. 48's perfect. 34 or 40 years, perfect. And then 34 is perfect. So for 7600, I required a bump up in RTTWR for this to run. This helped quite a bit. And then once that was done, I had to do, like I said, the TRTP and TWR drop. So I had to drop them both. I did, however, increase TRC and TRP to 46, 46, TRAS 34 for ADTRC. That seemed to work. Right, that seemed to work. These tertiaries were kind of locked the whole time. These kind of just run. 14 doesn't work on these two. This raise doesn't help at all. So this was perfect. Yeah, perfect. And then 8832 is kind of needed. This is required pretty much at this data rate for me. And yeah, so this is like hairpin stable. Like this is literally like if I adjust anything, like this won't run. Like this is literally to the ODT setting. Like every single timing, every single ODT has a place. This is like completely like dialed. Even 1.56 volts won't work. 1.54 volts won't work. 1.55 required. So even like, you know, VDD2 1.525 doesn't work. It's literally like perfect. It's necessary. And don't even ask me. TX and SA, no way, dude. If you raise or just any of these two, like drop or raise them, like no way, dude. Like these at 1.3 are literally like locked. Like higher or lower causes weird issues. So yeah, these settings literally only run the way they are here. And I don't think 7800 is doable on my board. Not because of the board itself, because my IMC is pretty bad. And my kit's pretty much on its lost. Like, this kit, to get to 7800, I'll need like 1.65 volts, which is a lot of voltage. And, yeah, like, even the dock can't even train 1.65 volts on data queue. So, yeah, data queue maxes at like 1.58 or something. And that's not enough for this, it's not enough for this kit to run 7800. So literally, like, I can't run 7800 or like 8000. I can't do it because the kit requires like 1.6 plus volts on data queue and on a drain to run. So literally, like, I'm capped at capped at this data rate. This is it. Like, that's it. And if you want to talk about like cast timing and stuff, no. I've mentioned before in the past, but like basically, the voltages required to run data rate on your particular kit and IMC are gonna kind of set an environment. Now, if you run lower timings, it doesn't always help you. Like, it doesn't help to drop cast and like, okay, I dropped CAS. Now I can surely run this like, you know, CL40 at like 1.5 volts. No, it doesn't work. Like, you can't run like this. Like, even this won't just do like 36 at like 1.5 volts. It won't do that. Like, it's not that simple. Like, this is so so dialed in that doing that would change everything. Like, 34 just works. I'm sure 36 could work somehow, but it might not even, because like I said, you need to match the volts for the data rate to make the IMC and the IC happy, and the ICs happy for that given speed, that data rate. So like whatever 7,600 mega transfers, and whatever timings you require to keep the voltage in check and not have like corruption is what you require. And like I said, they're so intricate that even having these two too high errored me. I literally ended up passing this 5 runs of EST by dropping these from 16 to 14. That's what did it. 16 to 14. That stabilized it. I'm not even kidding. Once I did 14, saw the first test passed, second test passed. I was watching football. I turned back around. It was on the last run. The last run passed. I was so over the moon. It was done. I'm like, I can't believe it worked, but I'm glad it did. So, basically, yeah, like, what a journey, man. Like, honestly, like, the on-die termination settings are so freaking important when you're trying to stabilize something very, very difficult. Like, auto did not work. Auto was completely gone. Like, auto was not even remotely stable, guys. Like, auto was just, like, so bad. Like, so bad. Like, auto was a completely different environment for motherboard entirely. Like, that just was working. It was not working. Like, there's no way auto would work. So, yeah, I'm hoping maybe to upgrade my chip, like, maybe, because I'm selling something quite expensive, so I'm gonna have some extra cash, so I might just buy an i9, potentially. I'm thinking of it, I'm considering it, but I'm not 100% sure. I'm still on the fence. Look, if I pull a good i9, the odds of me getting 8,000 are very high, because if I transfer this knowledge of ODT, like ODT tuning, like, let's say a good i9 would do like 7,600 with like no ODT adjustments, like completely easy peasy, you know, like what I mentioned before, like in videos. When your IMC is really good, it requires much less effort to stabilize something, right? It's almost like it just runs, it just works, so to speak. Now if I adjusted the ODTs on a good IMC on this board, I think I could maybe extract 8,000, maybe. But that's only if my ICs can actually do 8,000 at 1.65 volts. Then maybe I could do 8,000 like C36 at like 1.65 volts. And if a strong IMC helps the ICs a bit to remain stable and, you know, communicate to them, and just like, you know, keep everything happy, then maybe a strong IMC could help me run 8,000. But I'm still considering if it's worth it or not, because obviously an i9 is, you know, it's 8 more equals, so, you know, in gaming it's like 5 FPS, so it's hard to justify the money spent. But yeah, so this was really difficult, guys, very difficult, I'm not gonna lie. This was like 10 out of 10 difficulty. This is, I mean, I don't know how much more difficult it could get. Like, I adjusted everything. Like, I had to change and test PLLs too, bro. Like, so to run my optimal voltages for 7,200, and then also to like be able to run this in Y Cruncher at all, I needed them raised. Like, I could not do it at 0.96. 0.96, my go-to values, did not work. Like, 7,600 was not even remotely stable with 0.96. And that's not even Y-Crunch. I mean, like, TM5 was erroring at 0.96. 1.02 was absolutely needed. So, yeah, like, when you get to this point, guys, literally, to the PLL, to the ODT, to the timing, to the secondary, to the tertiary, every single timing, every single voltage trail has to be perfect. Like, nothing can be like a little bit wrong. Like, there's no headroom. There's literally no headroom. There's, like, no mistakes. Like, no mistakes. So, yeah, crazy. So, that's hopefully a fun video, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And, I haven't seen this covered, like, much on YouTube, so maybe it's a useful video. You know, I always hope that a video of mine blows up and I get, like, 10,000 views. If this is the one, then cool. But yeah, I'm genuinely hoping you guys find this useful, and maybe you guys comment below that you ended up getting, you know, your dream data rate stable. Like you finally got like 4300 like C15 on your B die or something or whatever. Like, I'll find it interesting. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video, guys, and I'll see you pretty soon. I'm gonna be recording another one pretty much just now. So yeah.